park, Principal. What happened to you, Principal? Principal. Seeing the head of his home garden suddenly fell to the ground, there was a heavy close contact between his head and the ground, and a mass of blood stains slowly spilled away. The blue carp was like a frightened deer. After a brief period of loss, he knelt down and looked at it. And then panicked even more. The principal is not breathing anymore. What should I do? Do you want to call an ambulance? Fuck it. It hurts. Fang Ye felt his head swell and hurt, as if he had been bombarded by 10,000 high-explosive bombs. With the help of the blue carp, he sat up from the ground. Frowned, and lightly pressed the swollen bag. Hiss, it hurts. Click again. Hiss, it really hurts. Blue carp couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief, and put away the mobile phone that was just about to call the ambulance. Looks like nothing serious. Whispered softly, the principal, give you paper, wipe the blood, your nose is still bleeding now. Thank you. Fang Ye accepted the paper subconsciously and thanked him. Suddenly came back to his senses, looked at the strange girl in front of him, and then looked at the huge cage with iron railings around it. How could it be a bit like a zoo? Isn't I at home just now, staying up late to play a game called Zoo Star? After playing, I fell asleep so sleepy. What's going on now? There was an incomprehensible situation, and Fang Ye's brain went down for a while. Who are you? Where am I? Blue Carp's eyes opened slightly, and his expression became horrified. It's over. The head of the school bumped his head on the ground and he lost his memory. She took out her mobile phone again without hesitation, began to make the call, and said solemnly and sadly, Hey, 120? This is Linhai Zoo. Fang Ye hurriedly held her hand and hung up the phone. Stop, let me think about it first. Close your eyes. Pieces of memory fragments surfaced in his hard memory, reconnected and put together. After a moment, Fang Ye, who had finished reading his memory, had a strange look on his face. I crossed it. The planet where he is now is called Blue Star. There is not much difference between Blue Star and the Earth where he was before in terms of culture, geography, technology, etc., but in the zoo, it is still in its infancy. As for the reason, everyone understands it. Unlike other entertainment venues, the zoo is not just a place for people to relax. It has a more important mission, which is to influence public awareness through its own display, animal protection and education work, so that people can respect and pay attention to nature, and ultimately protect nature. Countless examples show that if you don't know how to respect and conform to nature, then humans' harm to nature will eventually hurt themselves. On the Earth, the zoo's development process has gone through 4 stages. Was originally a cage-style display, completely from the perspective of tourists. For example, in the Sinking Bear Mountain and Tiger Mountain, a circle of people surrounds the pit, overlooking these dangerous animals from a high level, laughing and feeding, throwing stones, and the animals are looked down and watched, which will cause huge psychological pressure. This kind of exhibition can only increase tourists' contempt for animals and the conceit that humans are the supreme existence in nature, which is completely contrary to the attitude that the zoo should express. The background display is just an upgraded version of the cage display. Background paintings or background landscapes are added to the exhibition halls to make people feel more beautiful to visit, but it is meaningless to improve animal welfare. Moreover, due to the lack of relevant animal ecology knowledge by designers, mistakes such as building polar ice and snow display backgrounds for temperate penguins are often made, which is very detrimental to the physical and mental health of animals. A more advanced form of display is to introduce the ecological elements of animal habitats into the exhibition area and allow animals to interact with them. Ecological displays, or even immersive displays, emphasize atmosphere creation and empathy, allowing visitors to go to the animal's home guest visit experience. Only when tourists see animals living happily in an environment close to their natural habitat, can they fully feel the beauty of animals and nature, and then develop their love and respect for animals from the heart. Otherwise, facing the dirty cage, the animals with sluggish eyes and rigid movements, no matter how many signs of protection of wild animals are erected next to them, no matter how much the instructor says, it will not be resonant and recognized. The zoo on the Blue Star basically stays at the level of cage display and background display. Some zoos are already developing towards immersion, but very few. The name of the original owner of this body is also called Fang Yet. It can be said that it is not a coincidence, but an inevitable result of the overlapping of countless parallel spaces. However, Fang Yet, who came across, is an ordinary Azai who likes to play games and see fans, and the original owner is a serious and rich second generation. The original owner likes to visit the zoo since he was a child, especially like watching tigers and elephants. But as the number of visits to the zoo increased, he gradually discovered that the animals in the zoo were lifeless and not very active. Compared with the wild animals seen on TV, they lacked agility and vitality. The tourists knocked on the railings, even threw stones, and yelled at the animals to move them. These behaviors also made him disgusted from the bottom of his heart. So he has a good wish to open a zoo where animals can live freely, and people respect and love animals. After graduating from the original university, he bought a small zoo with the red envelopes collected during the Chinese New Year as a child and the living expenses saved in college. Fang Ye read this memory, can only sigh with envy and hatred. It's great to have money. Yu reading www.yuuganshu.com. When I graduated from university, I was still forced to have one, and everyone started to live an ideal life. Which boy doesn't want to have his own zoo? Before taking over the zoo, the original owner was full of ambition and thought a lot about how to make construction changes. After actually taking over, he encountered a lot of problems and realized that it was not easy. For example, put a striking sign next to the railing, and no food or slap is allowed. The original owner and some staff will continue to patrol and persuade patiently. But tourists don't listen. Still go its own way. Was annoyed, and said angrily, "What breaks the zoo? This is not okay, that's not okay, I can't come back next time." Many tourists think, why don't you let me feed the zoo where I paid for a ticket? They just take this as fun. For example, in terms of food, the meat fed to tigers should be the freshest beef, not just a small amount. The food was not treated badly, but the tiger still looked lackluster, leaving the original owner at a loss. Especially when a monkey fell ill before, the veterinarian didn't know what went wrong, and his level was really limited. The original owner can only watch as anxious and anxious. In the end, it was cured by a vet from another zoo. Encountered all kinds of problems, one is bigger than one. There are so many problems that need to be solved urgently. The original owner stayed up at night until 2 or 3 in the morning to find relevant materials to study. He woke up early at 4 or 5 in the day to take care of the animals. Was already exhausted, but just now another zoo fell to his head, and it was unlucky. Sometimes human beings are so fragile. Through the eyes of observation, Fang Ye seems to be able to appreciate Jiao's mood. Craving for food. An adult tiger raised in a zoo eats almost 20 catties of raw meat a day. Although Jiao is a female tiger, she eats 15 catties a day. The observing eye only showed a few basic data. Fang Ye instinctively felt that he could see more content. With the thought, the mental energy in my mind is consumed faster. Suddenly, there were a few more items under Jiao's panel frame. Health status, good offensive desire, low roar. Jiao suddenly roared, her muscles tightened, her back arched, her tail twitched to the ground, she looked around vigilantly, as if she had sensed some kind of threat. Hey! The blue carp almost fell, and Fang Ye was taken aback and interrupted the cast of observing eye. Jiao looked around with suspicious eyes, her tight muscles slowly relaxed, and she returned to her docile appearance, sitting there quietly, waiting for Fang Ye to feed. Fang's ambition has been enlightened, the sixth sense of animals is very keen. The so-called beast-like intuition. While observing animals, the observing eye will put a certain amount of sight pressure on them. If you only get general information, the problem is not big, but if you want to get more in-depth information, it will cause confusion for animals. It seems that the use of this skill is also skillful. Good. With the feedback from the observing eye, Fang Yi's confidence in his heart has been strengthened a lot. Jiao Jiao seems to be in a okay mood today, she has no desire to attack, and she has a good time to complete the task. Director, here you are. The blue carp put a large piece of fresh beef in the bucket on a long wooden stick and handed it to Fang Yi. She doesn't dare to feed the tiger herself. Fang Yi took it, and when he was about to feed Jiao Jiao, a bold idea suddenly appeared in his head. Or, pass the meat directly with your hands. Is not only to test Jiao Jiao's reaction, but also to let herself adapt in advance. After all, he plans to get in touch with Jiao Jiao after a while. He removed the meat from the wooden stick, held it in the blue carp's startled eyes, and steadily reached into the railing, while whispering softly, "Good girl, come, let's eat." President. What are you doing, Principal? Accompanied by the crying exclamation of the blue carp, Jiao Jiao stood up, two huge tiger palms placed on the bars on the iron railing, tilted his head, and took a bite. It's all right, Fang Ye showed a calm smile, it's impossible for a tiger to swallow such a big piece of meat. It won't bite me. Said so, but 2 drops of cold sweat came out from the back of his neck. Watching the tiger croak and bite the meat, the sharp and thick fangs like a dagger move under the eyelids, it feels a little irritating indeed. The blue carp made an unidentified exclamation, "Hey!" Jiao Jiao didn't feel any difference between today and usual, and didn't know what the humans outside were thinking. Her mind is very simple, she has only this piece of fresh beef in her eyes, eating happily and intently. When there was a small half left, Fang Ye let go, and the beef fell to the ground and was scratched away by Jiao Jiao with her front paws. Because she is almost full, she eats more and more slowly. When she finished eating, Jiao Jiao raised her head, licked her paws and corners of her mouth with her tongue, and paced slowly to another position, lying on the concrete floor, glancing at Fang Ye who hadn't walked away, and then stared blankly. The scenery outside the cage, I don't know what I'm thinking. The eye of observation. Siberian tiger, Jiao Jiao age, 3 years old mood, bored / in a daze. Hey. Fang Ye sighed in his heart. Blue Star's zoo level is really bad. Animal welfare does not mean that you are enough to feed the animals. That's just the most basic. Want to make animals feel at ease in the captive state of the zoo, there is a lot of work to do. For example, to avoid the sight pressure of tourists, to give them the opportunity to express natural behavior and so on. There are so many doorways in. And the animals here can only stay in the boring cage day after day. The principal. The blue carp called out softly. Fang Ye came back to his senses and smiled, "Don't hurry, I still have something to do." The blue carp blinked, and said in doubt, "Today the animal house is cleaned, and the food is finished. I plan to go in and play with Jiao Jiao for a while. Don't you think she is lonely?" The blue carp mouth was so shocked that he couldn't close it together. Hey director, are you kidding me? You think Jiao Jiao's food is not good enough, you are going to add a meal to it? Seeing that Fang Ye looked serious and really wanted to open the iron door of the cage, the blue carp was too anxious. Like a rabbit pulling a carrot, he hugged his wrist tightly and dragged back, "President, the tiger is really dangerous. And there are regulations in the zoo." Fang Ye scratched his head, "Yes, you stay away first. The blue carp is about to collapse, that's not what I mean. Why did the principal of the garden start to die like a different person today? As expected, knock your head silly." Fang Ye explained, "First, we feed Jiao Jiao every day. She is already familiar with us, so some close actions will not cause much stimulation. You see, did she behave when she ate just now? Secondly, Her personality was originally relatively mild, but now that she is full, she no longer has the desire to attack others. Third, as a zoo, it is our responsibility to provide animals with better welfare. Look at Jiao Jiao, don't you think she is boring? Makes sense. After listening to Fang Yi's words, Blue Carp looked at Jiao Jiao subconsciously, and suddenly had an illusion, as if she saw two beating flames in her eyes. It's just that the flame looks a little sullen. Then, the principal, you have to be careful. The Blue Carp said seriously, I'll go over there and get the water pipe for washing the cage. If it dares to bite you, I'll stop it. Fang Ye couldn't help patting her head, don't worry, I'm sure of you reading www.youcancha.com. In fact, if you really want to bite him, this soft glue hose is not useful, it's just a bigger water gun, which purely showers the tiger. But it was a good intention after all. Waiting for the Blue Carp to bring the water pipe over, and after making an okay gesture with a serious expression, Fang Ye calmed down, entered the cage from the outer house, and then locked the door again. This is to prevent accidents. The tiger ran out. Jiao Jiao lay on the ground, staring outside, and suddenly heard the movement of the iron gate. Looked over her subconsciously. Isn't this the human who fed himself recently? But usually there is a fence, why not this time? Seeing Jiao Jiao looking at herself, Fang Ye was a little excited while nervous. Far away, first released an observation eye skill. Mood, doubt, safety. Fang Ye, with a smile on his face, walked a diagonal line, and slowly leaned towards Jiao Jiao, while watching carefully, the observation eye was kept open. He was afraid that if he walked directly over, Jiao Jiao would be irritated. Approached slowly like this, so that she had a process of adapting. If there is any change, there is still room for buffering. When the distance was less than 3 meters, Jiao Jiao stood up from the ground, stared at her, and took a step back. Mood, uneasy. Roar. Fang Ye immediately stopped, watching Jiao Jiao gently, still smiling. The Blue Carp who was observing outside the cage swallowed, holding the hose in his hand, not even daring to take a breath. For Jiao Jiao, she is used to being blocked by an iron fence. I can't reach people outside, and people outside can't reach myself, it's good. Now that there is no fence blocking, someone is so close, Jiao Jiao doesn't know what it means, and she becomes nervous. Although this is not a stranger, but a familiar breeder. She gave a low growl as a warning. Is actually a little scared on both sides. Fang Ye kept smiling, and took half of his foot back gently. After a while, maybe because she felt that there was nothing wrong, Jiao Jiao slowly lay back on the ground, tilting her head and looking at Fang Ye. Hey! The principal is amazing. Outside the cage, the Blue Carp patted her chest lightly, her head dizzy for a while, she felt that her heart was about to jump to her throat just now. Fang Ye also had a cold sweat behind him, but he was extremely excited. The most difficult first step has passed, Jiao Jiao has adapted to her existence. In the eyes of observation, Jiao Jiao's state is shown, curiosity/anticipation. Usually there is only one tiger in the tiger house, Jiao Jiao is very lonely. When there are few tourists, visiting does not disgust her. Isn't she looking at all kinds of tourists to kill time? But there are too many tourists, noisy noises, and many overlapping eyes. The feeling of nowhere to escape will make her upset. The time I usually enjoy is before and after the zoo opens. Seeing the familiar keepers clean the cages and feed themselves, this is a rare sight, and it is also the most relaxing time for her. Today, the breeder came to her after feeding. Fang Ye looked at Jiao Jiao, who was watching her curiously, and squatted down beside her. Said softly, "Good girl, good girl." Stretched out his hand and placed it on Jiao Jiao's brown fur. The moment Fang Ye's hand touched the white and warm back, Jiao Jiao's body shook like an electric shock, her eyes widened, she stood up from the ground, majestic. The real tiger body was shocked. Opened the mouth of the blood basin and gave a fierce whistle. A hot wind with a stench hit Fang Yi's face, shocking his eardrums. The blue carp, who had been watching outside the cage, let out a short exclamation, "President! It's okay. Don't be nervous." Fang Yi's dry voice sounded. His facial muscles twitched twice, looking at Jiao Jiao who was staring at him, making his eyes and voice as soft as possible, "Good girl, don't be afraid." He knows that the more this time, the less he can panic. Keeping still is the best choice. If some wrong actions are made in the panic, causing misunderstandings by the tiger, it may become something if nothing happened. The observing eye showed that Jiao Jiao was nervous and restless, but she was not irritated. A long while, the nervousness disappeared, leaving only the restlessness. Jiao Jiao looked at Fang Ye, leaned her head, and gently rubbed his head with his side face. The blue carp's eyes were extremely surprised, and he covered his mouth in disbelief. Fang Yi's eyes widened slightly, then he wrapped Jiao Jiao's neck with his arms, and laughed feebly, tears coming out of his smile. He actually wants to laugh louder. The body quickly softened from a tight state. "Good girl, good girl." Jiao Jiao took the initiative to rub her head to show her friendship, which Fang Ye never expected. He had planned to retreat first this time when Jiao Jiao's mood calmed down. Come again next time, eating one bite at a time, so that she can slowly adapt to this closeness. But looking at Jiao Jiao's appearance, it seems that she yelled at him instinctively. After the tension was relieved, she felt that it was not right to do so. It is like a child who has made a mistake, feeling uneasy, using this way of rubbing his head to apologize and be close. Good TMD excitement, really dancing on the tip of a knife. Fang Ye was blushing on his face, muttering to himself, with his still trembling hands, he began to slowly stroke Jiao Jiao's back. Although the previous analysis was thorough and clear, ideal and reality are two different things after all. Tigers, animals at the top of the food chain, are naturally full of deterrence. Even if it is kept in a zoo, it still cannot change its true color as the king of beasts. Fortunately, I finally withstood the pressure and successfully gained Jiao Jiao's closeness. Don't say it, the feeling of running a big cat is really exciting. Fang Ye smiled, stroking a hand from Jiao Jiao's back, and then boldly rubbed her cheek. The brown-yellow hair on the tiger's back is hard, very thick, similar to a rough blanket, and somewhat tied. The light white fur on the cheeks and belly is fluffy and soft, and it feels like touching a fluffy scarf. Jiao Jiao was first touched so affectionately, still a little uncomfortable, she bared her teeth, shook her head and barked lowly, like a human itching and sneezing. But she quickly fell in love with this feeling, and she lay down on Fang Yi's lap with a body of more than 200 kilograms, and narrowed her eyes comfortably. Feel good. The blue carp outside was already stunned. In her impression, the tiger has always been a majestic and fierce existence. But look at the one inside, lying on the principal's lap, as docile as a cat. I'm afraid it's not a fake tiger, yo. This scene is too attractive. The blue carp watched without blinking, and even forgot the fear of tigers, and became curious about it. What kind of feeling does it feel to pet a tiger? Forget it. Reading www.yuyuganshu.com is terrible if you think about it. If you change her there, people will be dizzy. The blue carp suddenly flashed, and said excitedly, by the way, such a precious scene, you should take a photo. Hurriedly took out the phone and took a photo with Ka Ka Ka. Fang Ye chuckles the big cat happily, forgetting the passage of time for a while, and almost forgot why he wanted to venture in. Until 10 minutes later, the system prompt sounded. Ding! The mission is complete. The tiger's mood is very happy. Completion evaluation, perfect. Get a reward, a white Bengal tiger cub. Fang Yeruman wakes up for the first time. Hey, is it 10 minutes? Looking at the task reward again, I was shocked. Fuck, Bengal white tiger. The Bengal white tiger is a variant of the Bengal tiger. Due to genetic mutations, the original orange-yellow-black striped hair has turned into black striped white. Because of the lack of protective colors, the Bengal white tiger is difficult to survive in nature. It has become extinct in the wild and can only thrive under the protection of the zoo. The whole world does not exceed 200. Because of its scarcity and rareness, and the white tiger is the auspicious beast alongside the blue dragon in myths and legends, it is loved by tourists and is a well-deserved zoo star. Fang Ye was very excited, now it's developed. Roar! Realized that the stroking stopped, Xiao Xiao opened her eyes, watching him with yellow amber eyes, and screamed with some dissatisfaction. She arched her head up. Fang Ye touched Xiao Xiao's head and smiled happily, soon, you will have a new partner. When Fang Ye wanted to go out, Xiao Xiao arrogantly stopped her body in front of the iron gate and was not allowed to go. There are pure desires in his eyes, I want him to play with him for a while. Fang Ye couldn't laugh or cry, and pressed his head with both hands and pushed it several times, finally dispelling his enthusiasm for retention. Roar! Fang Ye turned his head and waved his hand with a smile. All right, all right. I will accompany you more next time. Came out of the cage, Fang Ye was still immersed in the aftertaste of excitement. It's so cool to run a big cat. For a big cat lover of him, it feels like eating ginseng fruit. The pores on his body are refreshing, and he walks a little bit fluttering. Although I was a little nervous and irritating when I first started contacting. Not to mention, the reward for completing the task perfectly is a rare and precious white Bengal tiger cub. Fang Ye was thinking about the reward, and immediately asked the system with his mind. System, how did this white Bengal tiger cub get it? If a rare white tiger suddenly appeared in the zoo, wouldn't it be suspected? Sent in the form of express delivery. Please rest assured that the system will give the distributed animals a legitimate source that can be traced in the real world. For example, this white tiger cub was donated by a foreign zoo, and no one will trace it. I think there is something wrong. Well, anyway, there is a system to fill the loopholes, so there is no need to worry about the source of the animals. When can I arrive then? 3 days later. Fang Ye noticed that there was a countdown of 71 hours 55 minutes and 40 seconds on the cub reward icon. In a blink of an eye, 40 became 39, and there was a line of small characters below that read, Sending. Very good. Blue Carp kept guarding at the door. When Fang Ye was in the cage, she was too nervous and worried, especially when Xiao Xiao roared, her head was frightened and she even forgot how to scream. I thought that the principal was going to transform into tiger food, but who knew that the turning point was so fast that it would be too close at once. Isn't the principal afraid? Why dare to post with Xiao Xiao? Why does Xiao Xiao like him so much? Blue Carp had already suffocated his stomach. At this moment Fang Ye's face was intoxicated and happy, and he didn't know what to say. After a while, finally spit out, the principal, you are too strong. In the tone of weirdness, admiration and admiration are mixed. Fang Ye's mouth crooked, just know it, there is no need to say it, Loki, Loki. Blue Carp couldn't bear to look straight and tilted his head to the side. Head of the garden, I thought you had changed, but you are still silly. After feeding the tiger, the task of the day is over. Dormitory. In order to consume the excess excitement, Fang Ye held up dumbbells and exercised for a while. After sweating and tired, he couldn't move his back. He sat on a chair, poured himself a cup of cold, and drank it, and his mood was really calm. Come down. Although he is the principal, the dormitory he lives in is also very simple, that is, the space is larger. In the corner of the room are a few fitness equipment such as barbells, a rigid bed with a mat, a laptop on a table, and a bookshelf. Linhai Zoo itself is a small zoo, how luxurious the supporting facilities can be. Above the bookshelf, Dang Dang is full of animal-related books. Fang Ye closed his eyes, recalled the memory of the original owner in his mind, opened the second drawer on the right side of the table, and took out a diary. The content of S diary is not to write about himself, but to carefully record his observations of animals, including eating, emotions, activities, etc. July 2nd is sunny. I went to the tiger cage for inspection at 12 o'clock and found that Jiao Jiao was listless and lying in the shadows. I guessed it was the hot weather. I took the initiative to take a shower when I washed the cage with water. It looked a lot more comfortable. I ate 15 kilograms today, which is less than yesterday. Eat 2 catties, some have poor appetite, but the roar is still full of breath. At Blue Star, due to the unprofessional animal management, only a few large zoos will do this kind of breeding log. The original master's consciousness in this area is already very advanced. Fang Ye couldn't help but admire. However, in the eyes of half a zoo expert, this log still has a lot of crudeness. A qualified breeding log, in addition to the basic animal name number, animal behavior record, date and weather conditions of the day, but also record weight and size data, physical sign changes, gender identification, breeding and birth control measures, feed supply, the status of animal feces, the facilities of the exhibition area, the modification of equipment, the records of special events. Feeding log is very important. For example, your group of monkeys is suddenly depressed and emotional, so you can only guess if you don't have a feeding log. If you make a detailed record before, look at the recent changes and you will know, oh, the feed formula has changed, or the feeding time has changed, which makes them unhappy, or a certain facility is broken, and the companion is dead. Vice versa. Writing an animal log is the basic operation and the easiest change. Every breeder should get used to it. The process of writing a log is a process of learning and improving. Fang Ye touched his chin, thinking in his head. The handwriting method is a bit backward. Who can I find to develop a zoo management system? This is not in a hurry. For the size of Linhai Zoo, a handwritten log is enough for the time being. Looking through the diary, the outline of Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com Linhai Zoo gradually became clear in his mind. Is located in the suburbs, covering an area of 30,000 square meters. Is about the size of an average school with 2,000 students. Originally had dozens of animals, but due to poor management, most of them were sold to other zoos before Fang Ye took over. Many cages are now idle. The only animals left are tigers, grey wolves, red foxes, alpacas, macaques, and blue peacocks. Can barely put together a zoo shelf. Most tourists come to see Siberian tiger Jiao Jiao and macaques, whose face is supported by them. There are hundreds of tourists on holidays, and there are only 9 people on the day with the least working day. The ticket price is 10 yuan. It takes an hour to take a bus from the city, depending on the poor cats, 3 or 2. If you give the money, tourists have to consider whether they are willing to come. On average 1 month's ticket income, even the feed fee can't be paid. Not relying on the city's policy subsidies, the Linhai Zoo has long been closed. The current situation in the zoo is like a decayed old man, very desolate. Need to make a comprehensive change. Fang Ye frowned and pondered for a long time. Hey, if this is like in a game, I can transform the zoo at will. The zoo environment he built in the game is beautiful, and he has won a prize in the theme zoo competition. As an aesthetically demanding high player, Fang Ye feels extremely uncomfortable when he thinks of the narrow and cramped cage of Linhai Zoo and the grey concrete floor, as if he was locked in. By the way, I wonder if the system has this function? The system construction function is similar to that of the game. You can modify the terrain, build venues, plant trees, etc. at will on the sand table. Fang Ye's heart beats faster. Awesome! Doesn't this mean that he can immediately realize the zoo of his dreams into reality? After careful study, Fang Ye tugged at the corner of his mouth and found that he still thought too much. Although the function of the system is easy to use, it does not mean that he can transform the zoo as he wants. There are certain restrictions. All construction and modification of these functions will consume Liuya coin, and a refreshing green leaf is printed on a clean white background. In the game, Liuya coin is the currency of circulation in online mode and is obtained through animal protection. Animals purchased with money cannot be sold again. In this way, the controversy that may be caused by animal buying and selling is ingeniously avoided. During the construction process, the more exaggerated the content of the modification, the consumption of Liuya coin will increase exponentially. For example, to modify a concrete floor into a flat lawn, it only takes 10 leaf coins. But to modify this lawn into a small water pool, it will consume 100 leaf coins. Is modified into a cliff towering into the clouds and waterfalls rushing, it may cost 1 million green leaf coins. Of course, people with normal brains don't do this. It can be said that the uplift of a hill is made of earth, and there is a cliff and waterfall on the flat ground. What about it? After a while, the police uncle came over and blocked the zoo. At the beginning of the construction game, there is an initial capital, and the zoo star system is no exception. Newbie construction funds, 10,000 green leaf coins, good fortune. Build a tiger pavilion first. A tiger pavilion, 10 times 20, useless? Can a tiger move its body? Can you feel at ease? Is at least 50 times 50, right? Although Linhai Zoo currently only has one tiger, Fang Ye did not plan to build it according to the standard of a tiger. We are systematic people. Look farther and be a bit forward-looking. Taking advantage of the worst of the zoo, you can make bold and reckless fabrications at will. When there are more tourists in the future, it will be troublesome to change it. 50 times 50, the requirements are already very low. If conditions permit, Fang Ye wants to build a 100 times 100. Ahem, a bit exaggerated. 50 times 50, this is the size of the pavilion that he thinks tigers can live comfortably, and visitors can enjoy it. Well, spread the grass here. 1 square meter of grass and 1 green leaf coin is simply for nothing. Come to another pond and plant a circle of trees. My Luo Tianyi, the cost of this museum is much more expensive than in the game. Fang Ye browsed the building list, and roughly estimated the funds needed to build an exhibition hall in his mind. After a long time, I finally came to the conclusion that building a small venue with 10,000 green leaf coins may be ample, but building a large tiger pavilion is far from enough. In the construction menu, the cheaper ones are natural environment decorations, lawns, trees, and stones. An adult tree, common willows and pine trees only cost 10 green leaf coins, and even precious ginkgo, etc., only cost 200 green leaf coins at most. If you want to buy with money, the value of the tree itself plus the cost of transplantation may cost thousands of thousands. The artificial facility consumes the bulk of Liuyi coins. A section of 1 meter wide and 5 meters high metal woven net costs 200 Liuyi coins. Brick walls and metal woven nets of the same specifications have the same price, while one side is 1 meter wide and 3 meters high with a glass curtain wall. Want 500 Liuyi coins? According to the size of the exhibition hall 50 times 50, the cost of a circle, the brick wall and the metal woven net is 40,000 green leaf coins, and the lawn 2,500 green leaf coins. In addition to the roof, glass curtain wall, tourist benches, introduction signs, and other miscellaneous content, it costs 60,000 to 70,000 green leaf coins. Of course, the area of the venue also includes the tourist visit area and the animal shelter operation area, not to say that 50 times 50 are all animal activity areas. Or, compromise and build a smaller one first. As soon as this thought came to mind, Fang Ye pressed it down mercilessly. Big is beautiful. He frowned and suddenly thought, right. Isn't there a milestone? Complete the phased goals, such as collecting various animals and building different premises, and you can get Liuya coin rewards. Fang Ye hurriedly opened the milestone interface, and he saw all the rewards to be claimed. Zoo has collected animals: Siberian tiger, reward 20,000 plus 15,000 leaf coins; grey wolf, reward 2,000 plus 500 leaf coins; macaque, reward 15,000 plus 8,000 plus 500; blue peacock, reward 500 leaf coins. The reward corresponds to the value of the animal. The rewards for species are only issued once. For example, if you collect golden monkeys, only the golden monkey subspecies will be awarded. The other is the population reward. Tiger is a cherished and endangered species. All tiger species are national first-class protected wild animals, and the reward is rich in nature. As for the blue peacock rewards, why are so few? Maybe some people think that peacocks are not rare? The rare one is the green peacock. The blue peacock breeding technology is mature and belongs to the non-dangerous level. It is sold on Dobeo. Has a large population and has a good look, so many zoos have them. There are milestone rewards for construction venues, but none of them are currently available. The venues recognized by the system must meet a series of requirements such as space size, protective facilities, animal welfare, and supporting science education. In short, these animals at UU reading www.uugonshu.com Linhai Zoo, plus the startup capital for newbies, total 90,000 green leaf coins. Is enough for Feng Yi to build the first official tiger house, and the extra green leaf coins can also temporarily improve the living environment of other animals. How should the park be replanned? Feng Yi held his face sideways, his eyes were thoughtful, and the pen in his hand turned slowly. Let's talk about blue carp. When I returned to the dormitory today, I was still in a state of ignorance and shock. I'm absent from doing anything, my head is full of the scene of Jiao Jiao lying on the elder's leg. The mighty and domineering Siberian tiger. Petite human beings. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I couldn't imagine this kind of scene. By the way, send these photos to a circle of friends. Lanley got excited, opened WeChat, selected a few better photos and checked them. Send. Ding dong, ding dong. Just a few seconds after was sent out, someone replied with an expression of staring eyes and nasal mucus falling out of surprise. Very intuitively expressed the shock in his heart. Fuck, who is this awesome? I'm so courageous, I'm not afraid that the tiger will eat him. It's probably the tiger's breeder, otherwise, how dare you get so close? Surprised, my cat usually gets upset, it's just this expression. Awesome, eye-opening. More than a dozen comments in a while, she occasionally posts a selfie, but the circle of friends is not so lively. Where did you take it? Linhai Zoo. Just my place. The little girl raised her eyebrows and replied proudly. And Yorong Yan. The next day. At 6:30 in the morning, the alarm clock went off. Fang Ye yawned, rubbed his sleepy eyes, washed and brushed his teeth, and strolled downstairs. The canteen is opposite the staff dormitory. Before entering the door, a good smell of steamed buns wafted out. Yet, Lao Zhang, what did you do today? Fang Ye recalled slightly, raising his voice and yelling. As usual, he sat down at a table casually. The cafeteria was empty, and there was no one but him, and it seemed very cold. One is that there are few employees. Linhai Zoo currently has no more than 20 employees, still including ticket inspectors, security guards, and zhang in the cafeteria. Another thing is that it is far from the city center and tourists come late, so there is no need to get up too early to work. Lao Zhang's chubby face protruded from the white enamel cooking window, and he greeted him warmly with a dialect accent. How can the principal still get up early? This morning, fried dough sticks, steamed buns, eggs, and tofu, pickles. Stir-fry potatoes, eggplant, gourd, and pork at noon. What can I order? Fang Ye smiled and nodded. A bowl of tofu, sprinkle some green onions, 2 fried dough sticks, and some radish sticks pickled by your wife. Good. 2 dimples appeared on Lao Zhongrura's face, and his eyes were narrowed. If the principal likes it, I will let her pickle more next time. The Yirlinhai Zoo was just completed. Lao Zhang was an employee. He was absolutely senior, and he had witnessed the ups and downs along the way when the zoo was most popular. A ticket sold for 40. Now that it's still dark every day, I drove that old bun to the nearest farmer's market to purchase the fresh vegetables and meat needed by the zoo, including animal food, and I came back to make breakfast with my wife, diligent and diligent. So Fang Ye respects Lao Zhang very much. The white and tender large chunks of tofu brains are immersed in dark brown glutinous juice, and a little oily light shines. The emerald green coriander and green onion are dotted with an attractive aroma that makes people swallow saliva. He picked up a crisp yellow dough stick and dipped it in the soup of tofu brain, while opening the system panel, ready to take a look. Fang Ye took a bite of the fritters dipped in juice, and suddenly he was stunned. How do you feel subtly? Something is wrong. After searching for a long time, he finally found the place of change. The whole person was dumbfounded. The popularity value is 352. How come the popularity value is 352? If you remember correctly, wasn't it still 43 yesterday? The increase in popularity value is undoubtedly a good thing, which means that the zoo's popularity has increased, and it can also be used for lottery draws. But the key is why it has increased inexplicably. Weird things, weird things. Fang Ye frowned and thought. While his mouth was in a daze, he kept chewing, unknowingly ate a fried dough stick, and directed his hand to quietly pick up 2 chopsticks and pickled radish sticks. The thoughtful blue carp walked into the canteen. Cautiously sat on the opposite side, opened his mouth slightly and closed it, putting his hand on his leg properly. Fang Ye raised his head and found that there was another the opposite side, and said cheerfully, "Yo, blue carp. Will follow me to clean the tiger house later." Said half of the time and found something wrong. What's wrong? It's the same as a mistake made by a primary school student. The blue carp was crying and touched the tips of his index fingers, as if there was something hard to tell. He said for a while, "President, I'm sorry. I uploaded the picture of you and the tiger yesterday to the circle of friends without your permission. You, deduct my salary." "Hi, what a big deal." Fang Yegong waved his hand disapprovingly, suddenly reacting to something. His eyes were very strange. "Yay or yo, the inexplicable increase in popularity turned out to be yours. Makes me wonder for a long time." The blue carp's face flushed a little, and he hurriedly explained, "The principal, it's not as simple as posting to Moments. Some friends didn't ask me, and posted the photos on Weibo. As a result, the spread was very fast, and many netizens reposted comments. Well, it may have some bad influence on you. I didn't expect that the principal is really sorry." She was also very regretful, but she did not expect that the few photos she took at random caused a wave of waves on the internet. Carefully raised the corners of his eyes, only to find that Fang Ye's expression was not the sullenness he had imagined when he heard the news, but the eyebrows were overjoyed. "It's great. I'm just trying to increase the visibility of our zoo. How many people reposted it?" Fang Ye slapped his thigh, opened Weibo enthusiastically, and searched for the keyword tiger directly. Dozens of reposts, hundreds of comments. Blue carp blinked, still not quite convinced. "Director, does it really matter? Hey, why do you have dozens of reposts?" Fang Ye poked his lips in disappointment. This year's netizens can't do it. Just think about it. With a few photos, it is neither realistic nor good to make Linhai Zoo famous overnight. At least after the completion of the Tiger Pavilion, there is a scene that can be held. I looked at the trembling blue carp, and couldn't help feeling that this child was also honest. Seeing scared the child. He comforted, "This is a good thing, besides, you didn't mean it, so what did you do?" "Really? The blue carp finally showed a smile on his face, pressing his hands on his chest, and let out a sigh of relief. "Master Zhang. Give me a bowl of tofu brain and a steamed bun. The search results are sorted by relevance by default. Fang Ye clicked one and sorted by time. The first one at the top is himself. In addition to the knee pillow, there are scenes where he grinned hard, Rua Jiao Jiao's head, holding Jiao Jiao's neck and so on. Netizens are talking about it below. The brain axe is so cute. Hey, won't brain axe bite people? Yu reading www.yuyugonshu.com is afraid. A false hunk attracts attention by showing his muscles, a real hunk touches a tiger's with a smile. I used to have a friend who was just like him, but now the grass at the head of the grave is 2 meters high. My little brother is so handsome. Fang Yul said, hey, what are you telling the truth? But as the blue carp said, there are many skeptical and critical comments. This picture is from P. How can anyone dare to touch a tiger like this? Maybe I have been fighting since I was a child, and I have become honest. Malicious marketing. Use this kind of death to attract attention. Have you forgotten so many reports of tiger cannibalism? /anger. People nowadays dare to do anything in order to become an internet celebrity and attract traffic, so they don't want to die. As an animal researcher, I want to tell everyone that this is a very dangerous behavior. Although watching this scene is very warm, the tiger is docile and obedient, but it is actually an illusion. There is no protective measure to get close to the beast, just taking it. I'm joking with my own life, maybe it will turn your face on you in the next second. Who is this person? Why can he enter the tiger cage? Which zoo is this? The garden is too irresponsible in management. The people on the Blue Star still have too little knowledge. The news about tigers is basically horror. A tiger bite in zoo, a man was bitten to death by a tiger, the scene is shocking, this kind of negative. In most people's minds, there are only two relationships between humans and beasts: conquer or prey. Respect nature and live in harmony? Non-existent. In their opinion, this kind of intimacy between humans and tigers is really strange. What is the meaning of the existence of a zoo? One of the meanings of is to let people understand animals so that they can love and respect them, and then pay attention to and protect nature. This accident inspired Fang Ye. He touched his chin and temporarily added a plan. Blue Carp, you go to Dusha to register a live account. Hey? Is the director planning to broadcast it? Yes, the name is Lin Hai Zoo, you will be responsible for the shooting. Fang Ye plans to live broadcast the daily life of some animals, not only to show the charm of the animals, but also to promote a wave of his zoo by the way, harvesting the popularity value, and killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Taking advantage of the effort of Blue Carp registering a live account, he reposted the Weibo, "Hello everyone, I am the director of Lin Hai Zoo and one of the protagonists of these photos. The other protagonist is our zoo's most popular and favorite Siberian tiger Jiao Jiao. I am very grateful to the netizens for caring about me and our zoo. Everyone is welcome to visit our live broadcast room Lin Hai Zoo. If you have any questions, you can ask me questions in the live broadcast room." Lan Lei said with excitement, "The principal, the account is registered, and it can be broadcast live. What are you going to broadcast today? Eat first, get ready, let's start broadcasting at 8 o'clock. Fang Ye didn't know what he thought of, and a wicked smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. "I'll change the title of the room to look at how the director cleans the cage for the tiger later." Blue Carp was a little worried. "Hey, will anyone watch this live broadcast?" "Don't worry." Fang Ye was confident. If some netizens are curious about how to clean the tiger cage, they may find that the content is different from what they imagined. 8:10. In the live broadcast room where there is nothing, there are already 5 netizens waiting at this time. Obviously all came from seeing Weibo. At the morning meeting, Fang Ye told the breeders about the new requirements for writing animal logs, which was a little bit delayed. But the problem is not big. After Blue Carp changed the name of the room to look at how the principal cleans the cage for the tiger, 3 more netizens entered the live broadcast room. The title is simple and plain, but it has a wonderful attraction. The key point is naturally the word tiger. Fang Ye in blue overalls appeared in the camera, smiling and beckoning. "Hey, hello, can you see? I'm Fang Ye, the director of Linhai Zoo." The sparge floated. "Hey, the principal is here. Can see. Wow, it's really me. Good morning, principal. Linhai Zoo, is it in LH City? I just work in LH City, why don't I know?" Fang Yi's own mobile phone also opened the interface in the live broadcast room, which is convenient for watching the bullet screen. He replied, "It's in LH City. Our zoo is in the suburbs, in a remote location, and now there are no animals to watch. There are few tourists and it is naturally unknown. In fact, many parents who brought their children over searched the internet and found out that it was Linhai. There is a zoo, haha." He was walking in front, and the blue carp also tended to follow behind to shoot. Someone noticed the iron bucket and broom in his hand. "Is this going to clean the cage? You didn't read it, haven't you written all the titles?" The picture was taken yesterday in the tiger house, the Jiao Jiao Siberian tiger. The netizen who entered the live broadcast room was a bit confused. "What photo? The principal is holding a tiger, don't you know?" Shocked, "Is there such a thing?" Looking at Fang Ye again, his eyes are a little different. "Fierce man. The tiger house is here." Jiao Jiao was originally lying on the other side of the cage. When she found Fang Yi's figure appeared, she immediately stood up and walked towards here slowly. Stopped in front of the iron gate, raised his head, his eyes narrowed slightly, and he still looked a little awake. This distance can be said to be no closer, just separated by a railing. The posture is very clearly photographed. Seeing that the blue carp was holding a mobile phone to shoot, Jiao Jiao tilted her head. The amber-colored docile tiger looked at the camera, and seemed to be a little confused about what he was doing. Netizens are suddenly excited. "I like Brain Axe most. Wow, what a big man! What a mighty man! This is much more interesting than watching those beautiful anchors." Jiao Jiao glanced at the phone and stopped paying attention. She lowered her head to the position of Fang Yi's ankle and sniffed, as if she was distinguishing his scent. "Looks good." Fang Ye first made an assessment based on his own feelings, and then quietly opened his eyes of observation. "Jiao Jiao," a virtual panel appeared. "Siberian tiger, Jiao Jiao age, 3 years old mood." Happy Jiao Jiao stepped forward again, but couldn't reach Fang Ye, and a low growl came from her throat. She clings to the railing, squinting her eyes, rubbing around like a tree, with a delicate posture. "Wow, why did you shout suddenly? Oh my god! Is it my illusion? How do you feel that it is acting like a baby? It's not just me that feels this way. When my cat wants to play with me, it rubs my legs like this. Haha, after all, tigers are also cats. It's just a bit bigger. It seems that the tiger really likes the principal. This is Jiao Jiao." Fang Ye turned around and introduced to the netizens, smiling, "Everyone must be very curious about how we cleaned the tiger's cage, right?" He fumbled around his waist for a while, took out a bunch of tingling keys, and then opened the door lock naturally and skillfully and pulled the iron bolt away. The iron gate grinned open a gap. Jiao Jiao immediately arched outwards impatiently. Yu reading www.yuyugonshu.com. In a blink of an eye poked out half of her head. Netizens were dull thinking for 2 seconds. "It's over. Mom! Run, the tiger is coming out." The blue carp shook his hand and the phone almost slid to the ground, screaming softly like a mosquito. Hey, great crisis, oh, the process of cleaning the cage is obviously not like this. Jiao Jiao, good girl, let me in." Fang Ye didn't rush, and he held the door with one hand to make the gap not wide, and at the same time used the iron bucket in his hand to slap Jiao Jiao twice. Don't squeeze out. Jiao Jiao was stunned twice. She shook her head, turned around, and let the gap open. In fact, she just wanted to hunch in Fang Yi's arms, not to go out. Fang Ye took the opportunity to turn his body sideways, got into the cage quickly, and put the iron bolt back in his backhand. Only then did the netizens react, and excitedly launched barrage. I was digging a slot, I was scared to death just now. I almost stopped jumping just now. It's funny to say, the camera is too close, I see the tiger coming out, my body is leaning back unconsciously. It will be great to run out and have fun. It turns out that the breeder usually cleans the tigers like this. Admiration, hard work. Laugh and cry, you misunderstood upstairs. Generally, cleaning the cage or feeding the beast is to separate people from the beast, and to ensure absolute safety. Otherwise, the number of breeders is not enough. Then why the principal dare to go in directly? Because, he is a fierce man. In the tiger house, Fang Ye did not rush to clean, but put the bucket on the ground, like the head teacher patted the student's shoulder, patted Jiao Jiao's head gently, and rubbed her furry cheek by the way. With a little encouragement and praise, good boy. You are the best, right? Fang Ye hooked his hand to the blue carp. The blue carp understood the meaning and leaned forward tremblingly, letting the phone camera stick to the railing, so that he could take the picture more clearly. There was a barrage and even made a joke. Director, you left the photographer behind. The photographer also followed in. I won't go in. The blue carp protested weakly. Hey? The photographer is a girl. Girl shows her face. Fang Ye heard it and smiled, don't bully my assistant. In fact, Jiao Jiao is a gentle and cute tiger, don't be afraid of her. Said, bending down, covering Jiao Jiao's wide neck with an open hand, rubbing the soft white velvet on her cheek affectionately. Envy. I want to run the big cat like this too. Although I am also envious, I still threw the screen, so I don't dare to touch it. The principal must pay attention to safety. Fang Ye scratched Jiao Jiao's chin again, and kissed her on the forehead with a smile. Jiao Jiao, are you right? Tell the netizens, are you a lovely and gentle boy? Mua. Jiao Jiao was massaged with an excellent technique, her eyes half squinted in comfort, she even raised her neck when she scratched her chin, and her body unconsciously tilted to his side. Without Fang Yi's leg support, he would definitely fall to the ground. Is simply Wahaha's younger brother Shuangwaiwai. Showed great trust and goodwill. Roar. Netizens were shocked to see that after Fang Ye finished her question, Jiao Jiao actually roared, seemingly agreeable. Ha ha ha, do you like me? Ha, the barrage exploded instantly. Fuck, this tiger is so good, he can understand what the principal said. Yo, this is different from the tigers I watched in other zoos. The director is awesome. Too awesome. The roommate asked me why I was watching the live broadcast on my knees. I pointed to the screen. He is now kneeling and watching with me. Formal and Taoist rewarded a shrimp ball. If the first person gives a gift, there will be a second and a third immediately. Everyone didn't give gifts before, just because they watched it intently and forgot. They sincerely believe that such wonderful content is worthy of a round of rewards. Study hard today rewarded a rice ball. Yakumo Blue Tail rewarded a rocket. Over the live broadcast room, a bright flame spurted from the tail of the rocket and slowly flew past. Ya Yunlin's tail sent a rocket in the live broadcast room of Linhai Zoo. Everyone, hurry up and watch. Blue Carp opened her eyes wide and was pleasantly surprised. Although she doesn't play live broadcasts very often, she also knows that the rocket costs 500 yuan each, which is worth 50 tickets for the zoo. Of course, there are not so many that are actually available. She thanks softly, thank you for the rocket. Yakumalan's tail, it's the first time I saw people and tigers get along so harmoniously. This is what my ideal zoo looks like. I hope the director will take us around the zoo more. I will see it myself if I have the opportunity. Because of the propaganda role of this rocket, a lot of netizens have poured into the live broadcast room, which is a lot of lively. Is this an outdoor live zoo? How can people be locked up with tigers? I'm not mistaken, the anchor is tickling the tiger. How comfortable does the tiger look? Surprised, my wife, come and see the druid. Don't look at Jiao Jiao's enjoyment, in fact Fang Yerua is also very cool. But I still have to do business. He took out the dustpan and broom from the iron bucket. Come on, Jiao Jiao, move a place, let me clean it up for you. Jiao Jiao seemed to know what she was going to do next, and walked away 2 meters away with a small step. Oh my god, is so cute. Jiao Jiao is so sensible, and she knows she has gone aside. Yes, it feels like a caring little girl. The black markings are so beautiful, I already like Jiao Jiao. I really want to go to the principal's zoo to see for myself. Hey, look at her turning her head around and looking at the camera. This expression is so cute and cute. Smile Jiao Jiao. Is also a very interesting situation, just a tiger staring at the camera, a person cleaning in the back, no one interacting, netizens still watch with gusto. Soon, when Fang Ye swept in the tiger dung and a few leftover bones, the process of cleaning the cage was over. He sat down, rubbed Jiao Jiao's head, and smiled at the camera. How about it, friends? Isn't it easy to satisfy your curiosity? Is it easy to clean the cage for the tiger? Barrage can't help but complain. I believe you a ghost. Try someone else. See if the tiger is so cute and obedient. Who are you? I want to see the tiger. Damn, the principal can talk to tigers. Newcomers show respect. Is it so fancy? The blue carp pointed at the phone. President, someone just sent a rocket. Fang Yi's eyes lit up, and he held his fist solemnly. Thank your friend for the rocket. Your reward will make the zoo more beautiful, thank you for the animals. He started the live broadcast mainly to increase popularity, but he really didn't plan to use this to make money. Thinking of this, Fang Ye opened the system panel and took a look. He was shocked. The popularity value has exceeded 2,000. 2 lucky draws are possible. It's just that now is not a good time to draw a lottery. Fang Ye temporarily put away the enthusiasm in his heart and responded to the enthusiastic questions of netizens. President, is there only one tiger in your zoo? Same question, I was puzzled just now. It hurts to look at being alone. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com. Well, there is only one tiger at the moment. Linhai Zoo is a very old zoo. It used to be okay, but in recent years it has been in a poor state of operation and cannot afford the expenses of animals and staff, so some animals have been transferred to other zoos. He explained briefly. The previous things are over, Linhai Zoo will surely be full of new vitality under his construction. It's too shabby, come brothers, all give a round of rewards, help the principal to crowdfund and buy a few tigers. Haha. I don't know how much is a tiger. I heard hearsay, one will be hundreds of thousands to hundreds of thousands. That feels pretty cheap. Fang Ye caught a glimpse of the discussion on the barrage, and gently explained, this is only the price of the trade between zoos. Tigers and other protected animals are very precious. The value includes but not limited to viewing, inspiring people's artistic creation, and research. Its status and role in the ecosystem can be said to be invaluable, and it cannot be simply measured by money prices. Wow, the principal knows a lot. I don't know what you are. Come on, I think the positive energy. Brother Meng put the positive energy on the public screen. There is only one tiger at the moment. A keen netizen noticed his wording. Does the principal already have a plan to introduce a new tiger? I like the brain axe. Bring in a few more so Jiao Jiao will not be alone. When he thinks that his zoo is about to welcome a cute little white tiger, Fang Yi's mouth can't help but upturns, and he smiles like an old farmer who sees a good harvest. Hey, that's right. Everyone pays attention and waits for new ones. Members are here to tell you the first time.